The preceding slides will discuss the changes to the SECOR program beginning January 1st, 2023. Today's objective is to provide a high-level overview of the changes to site-specific assessment requirements, the new content added to the protocol, and available resources. Element B is now specific to hazard assessments only. Inspections were pulled out and moved to Element D. 2 questions have been added to Element B and 1 to Element C regarding site-specific assessments. The purpose of these additions is to provide a consistent approach for employers and workers to identify and control hazards in the workplace. Site-specific hazard assessments are not task-based like formal hazard assessments or FHAs. Site-specific hazard assessments or field-leveled hazard assessments, FLHAs, are used to address hazards that show up because of the changing circumstances at a work site, for example, field, office, or shop. They check for hazards before work starts at a site and where work conditions change or when non-routine work is added. Next, we'll focus on the new content added to elements B and C. Question B9. Is there a system in place for site-specific hazard assessments to identify hazards prior to work starting on the day of the job? The requirement for this question is a policy or procedure that may include references as appropriate to temporary or mobile sites, to work sites not owned by the company, when new conditions, tasks, equipment, processes, or construction are introduced, or the inclusion of affected employees at the worksite. Temporary work sites can include conditions that are not permanent or a new process or activity that has been temporarily introduced to the worksite. For example, a pipe bursts and due to flooding, an office needs to be relocated or the building needs to be evacuated to a temporary location. Mobile work sites are not tied to a physical location. For example, a vac truck could be considered a mobile work site that travels to various locations. Alternate work sites are any place other than the regular work site where official work can be performed by an employee. For example, a manager completes an inspection at a building that has no workers on site. Question B10. Is the company using their site-specific hazard assessment process? Examples of completed site-specific hazard assessments could include documentation such as field-level hazard assessments, job safety analysis, job hazard analysis, field-level risk assessments. For employers who have a single shop or office, these assessments would be conducted prior to unique, unusual, or infrequent tasks. For example, prior to traveling to a new destination for work purposes, or if a new piece of office equipment is introduced. The requirement is that the employer is generating their own assessments, even when working on site with a prime contractor. Documents from a prime contractor do not meet the requirements of this question. They must be your own assessments. Question C2. Are the results of site-specific hazard assessments used to identify controls? As mentioned in the previous slide, examples of completed documentation could include site-specific hazard assessments, field-level hazard assessments, job safety analysis, job hazard analysis, or field-level risk assessments that verify that controls were put in place to mitigate the identified hazards. This question may be marked NA if work performed in the past 12 months did not include a temporary or mobile work site, a work site not owned by the company, or if no new conditions, tasks, equipment, processes, or construction were introduced. We'll conclude today's presentation with additional resource information. ESC has created a one-pager that includes definitions, audit requirements and guidelines, example scenarios, and links to additional resources, which can be located on the ESC website under Core, then Materials and Resources. Additional information regarding legislation for Alberta employers can be found on the Alberta OHS Legislation Search tool under search-ohs-laws.alberta.ca. WorkSafe BC has a similar online legislation search tool located on the WorkSafe BC site under Occupational Health and Safety Searchable Regulations. Additional resources include Occupational Health and Safety e-news from Alberta and WorkSafe BC, Canadian Centre for Occupational Health and Safety, or CCOHS, resource search on the ESC website, as well as webinars on demand, and in-person mentoring and worksite visits. That concludes this presentation on the SECOR Elements B and C Site-Specific Assessment Audit Tool updates for 2023. If you have additional questions, please email coreinfo@energysafetycanada.com or call the hotline number at 1-800-667-5557, option 3. Thank you.